Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Maria Parham, editorial page editor for the Arizona Daily Star. In tonight's AZ Illustrated Metro, we'll ask about the state of foster care in Pima County. Get a glimpse at what it's like to be in school leadership in southern Arizona by following two elementary school principals through their year. Check in with Tucson's mayor after his trip to Washington, D.C. to lobby for the city, and ask what Defense Department cuts mean for southern Arizona. But first, a look at today's top stories.
A wildfire burning near the U.S.-Mexico border east of Nogales has grown to more than 2,500 acres. Officials with the Coronado National Forest say the fire, which started Friday, is spreading rapidly. It's near Patagonia Lake, and while no structures are threatened, winds are expected in the next few days. Michelle Fidler is with the Coronado National Forest and says shifting winds have fueled the fire, which will continue to grow.
That's an area where it's burning in really steep, rugged terrain. We had some of the vegetation rolled down slope and actually started to carry the fire just outside our fire line. Expect to see increased smoke over the next couple of days as we continue those burnout operations, and we will see increased acreage.
About 200 firefighters are on scene in the steep terrain about 5 miles east of the Nogales airport, with 11 fire engines and 2 helicopters assigned to the burn. Officials say they suspect the fire is human-caused. A new state law places restrictions on how much a county can tax residents to pay off its bonds, but Pima County officials say it won't affect tax bills in this county much. The law, signed by Governor Jan Brewer this month, says counties can't charge more in taxes than the amount needed to pay the principal and interest on a bond. Bonds are like government loans and are used to borrow money for specific projects. Pima County Administrator Chuck Huckleberry says Pima already taxes residents only based on what's needed to pay interest and principal. He says that's been backed up by a state audit. And that's a look at today's news.
More than 4,000 children are in foster care in Pima County today. Not all of them are with families, though. Some are in group homes or shelters. Chris Swenson-Smith joins me now to discuss the situation and what can be done about it. She is the Director of Children and Family Services at the Pima County Juvenile Court. Chris, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Maria.
Can you start by just characterizing the situation for foster care in Pima County for us?
Right now it's woefully and sadly inadequate. We really don't have enough foster homes for the number of children who are in need of protection right now.
And so tell us about the number of children. I understand it's gone up from 2,800 a couple of years ago all the way to 4,000. What's happening here?
Even in the last year, a year ago this month, there were 1,000 fewer children who were dependent in Pima County. So just in the last year, there's been an increase of 1,000 more children who are abused or neglected. No one can ever say for sure what's happening when you have an increase like that, but we do have a really, really bad drug and alcohol problem in Pima County, and about 70% of dependency cases are related to parental substance abuse.
Now, how many of these children we've mentioned in our intro that not all of them can go to foster care. Can you outline for us how many actually go to foster homes and how many go to other places?
We actually do a really great job of finding relative or kin placements for many children who are wards of the state. And I think they do much better when they're with people that they know and with family members. It's also cost-saving for the state. About 37% of kids are in foster homes, but we could use a lot more foster homes than we do now. A lot of times kids have to go into shelters or group homes, and what's happening right now is many, many children are placed in licensed foster homes in other counties, including Maricopa County and some rural counties. That makes it so difficult for them to be first traumatized by the abuse and neglect, secondly by the removal from their home, and third, to be in a community where they don't know anybody.
Right. Now, if someone wants to help here, how can they become a foster parent? Is that a long, drawn-out process? Can you describe it for us?
It's a lot easier than most people think, and foster parents, good foster parents, come from every walk of life. It shouldn't cost you any money to do it. Licensed foster parents are reimbursed for the care of the children who are with them. And there's a website that they can go to, Foster and Adoptive Council of Tucson.org. It's a good place to start.
And we will put those up on our website for viewers who want to go after the program's over, yes.
And sometimes people find or they know that they're unable to provide 24/7 care to a child, but there are still other things that members of our community can do to help these kids. One is to become a court-appointed special advocate.
Can you explain what that is and what it entails for people?
It's a volunteer who's specially trained and certified to advocate for a child in a dependency case. So they are sort of the eyes and ears of the judge. They see a child or a sibling group very frequently. They get financial support so they don't have to spend any of their own money to take the child on outings, for example. And they go into court and let the judge know what's going on in that child's life. And they're that one consistent adult who can go see them if they're out of county or any place they happen to be, and can be in touch with the child for their behavioral health needs, for their educational needs, and just for anything that they need.
Is there a time commitment for someone to be involved in this, and do you commit for a year and it's so many hours a month?
Yes, we ask that ACASA commit for the life of one case. So if the child's case lasts a year or the child's case lasts 2 years, we ask that they just stick it out so that the child doesn't have to transition to still another new person in their life. And most CASAs are able to do that.
What's the difficulty in getting people to become foster parents and to take in children? Is it partly a financial issue? What's causing some of the problems there in getting people to volunteer to do this or to sign up to do it?
I think the biggest barrier is that people have a misconception of what these kids are like. And what they find is that once a child feels safe, everything, their behavior, their school performance, their mental health, all of those improve when they just feel safe. And most of the kids are small. About half of those 4,000 children are 5 and under.
Now, last week, the Arizona Senate gave preliminary approval to a budget that included $9 million more for Child Protective Services. How is that going to impact what you're able to do here with foster care in Pima County?
Well, my hope is that not as many kids will come into care. Some of that money will go to support the children that are already dependent children. But I think if the state is able to re-implement many of the prevention programs that were in place a few years ago, we're going to find that far fewer children are abused and neglected. Those that are will be able to remain in home safely with some intensive services with their family, which is so much better for kids.
So $1 million of that $9 million is supposed to go to grandparents. Just how common is that in Pima County that grandparents are taking in their grandchildren?
Very common. It's something we do quite a bit. We often have grandparents show up at the very first court hearing and say, we're here to provide a safe placement for our grandchildren. And if CPS can very quickly do a home study and a background check, that happens often. And if the judges see those grandparents in court, they are so grateful to know that the children are with people that they love.
Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
What is it like to be in school leadership? Fernanda Chavarri spent the school year following 2 elementary school principals in Pima County and exploring the challenges they face. One is now finishing his first year as a principal in a rural school. The other is retiring from her career as a principal in a Tucson school. Here's a preview of a radio series airing next week.
Farrell just wants to let everybody know that until further
I left my house this morning at 3:15. Sopori Elementary has a lot of dogs that roam. I chased about 8 dogs off the playground this morning to make sure that the kids were safe. As you can tell, I'm a little sweated out from running back and forth to cars and so forth.
It's going to ring in about 1 minute, your bell.
Yes.
It's such a great job because you don't see it as a job. It's just like it's like I'm in some ways a student too, because there's that excitement of a new year because every year is different. James, wait, what are we supposed to do with our hands, James? It just reaffirms for me that the decision I made to retire was a good one, because it's time, because I don't feel like I still have the same energy I had 12 years ago.
What is it, Isaac?
Tattoos. Glowing tattoos.
Where'd you get these?
Marcos gave me them.
Oh, he got them for you?
I've been the teacher, and principal walks in and they get quiet, or the boss walks in and you get quiet. I just never been on the other side, on the receiving end, and thought, oh my gosh, how lonely is that?
What does the Scooby-Doo today? Yesterday? If they see me in the classroom, that it's not a discipline and it's not a bad thing, so. And most of the time I'm sitting down at the desk next to them, seeing what they're doing.
I want to hear you guys sing.
They're only hearing it for the first time.
I wanted to be a teacher, but, my father said, you won't make any money, you need to do something else. And I always wanted to work with kids and try and make a difference, one by one.
Great principal, and she always keeps us safe. And she's nice. Yeah. She wants kids to listen and have fun. And she wants us to be determined for anything.
We'll have all the goodbyes and all the parties, and it will be a lot of fun, but the kids will be gone. And I can just see myself turning off the light and walking out the door, and that will be it.
Matters of Principal airs next week on Arizona Public Media's radio station, NPR 89.1. Tune in at 8:30 a.m. Tuesday through Friday to hear the series, and look for photos online at azpm.org.
Tonight, we get the latest on the massive twister that first touched down near Oklahoma City from the National Weather Service in Norman, Oklahoma.
Then a pitched battle for a key Syrian city raged on for a second day. We update the bloody civil war as fighters from Lebanon's militant group Hezbollah take up arms to support the Assad government.
A 6-year-old company with no profit and little revenue gets bought for more than $1 billion. We discuss what's behind tech giant Yahoo's grab for the blogging platform Tumblr.
Myanmar's president visits the White House today for the first time since 1966. Race Wires explores what the renewed relationship means for U.S. interests in Asia.
Spencer Michaels has the story of a San Francisco startup pushing talented techies to work with local governments to tackle hunger, blight, and other civic problems.
And we debate psychiatry's new 1,000-page manual of mental disorders and the very real challenge of diagnosing patients. That's all ahead on tonight's NewsHour.
In Brownsville, Texas, Dr. Henry Imperial says his patients are so poor they can only pay for the most basic services.
Once you diagnose a cancer, then what? How are you going to give me chemotherapy or surgery or radiation therapy? It goes out of our hands.
Residents of poor Texas communities try to convince the state to expand Medicaid. On the next morning edition from NPR News.
Local government officials often find themselves dealing with federal funding or federal programs. Tucson is no different. Mayor Jonathan Rothschild went to Washington, D.C. last week to meet with officials in the administration and the 11 people elected to represent Arizona at the national level. Andrea Kelly brings us a report on who he met and what they discussed.
They've determined which the process is going to be here.
When he got to Washington, D.C., Tucson Mayor Jonathan Rothschild talked policy with all of the state's elected officials, except Congressman Trent Franks, who had a scheduling conflict. Rothschild also met with representatives from various federal agencies to give them a perspective on Tucson's place in the country and internationally.
The real purpose of the trip was to build those congressional relationships and then really focus on a theme, particularly with the Congress people, of the necessity for building the infrastructure out of Mexico and improving the relationship with Mexico. So that's a bipartisan message that we delivered across the board.
He says his focus is on commerce, specifically the Mariposa Port of Entry in Nogales.
The stimulus package built out 14 lanes and really gave us an opportunity to be competitive with California and Texas, but it immediately reduces into 1 and 2 lanes, and so we need to build out that infrastructure connecting to I-19. And then as we come up I-19, as that becomes a real major trade route from the port out of Guaymas, we need to assure that our interchanges at Ajo, Valencia, and Irvington can properly hold the traffic. And even our Congress folks in Phoenix, and certainly our senators, recognized that as a need for the whole state. So we talked a lot about that. We really talked about, or I tried to talk about the fact that healthy economies in northern Mexico and in Arizona help with the issues of immigration.
Rothschild says he pointed that out because of the intense focus on immigration nationally. He says he also talked to U.S. Senator Jeff Flake in between committee meetings about the bipartisan Senate proposal on immigration and border security reform. He also met with people from the United States Interagency Council for Homelessness. They are specifically trying to prevent homelessness among military veterans. According to Rothschild, Tucson has about 450 to 500 homeless veterans.
Tucson has been indicated as a city by the administration that it believes can end veterans homelessness by 2015 and child and family homelessness by 2020. So in meeting with the directors, they really laid out a game plan for the city to get that job done. And some of the things I learned was that in the city of Tucson, we have about 68 vouchers for homeless veterans that we still have existing that we haven't used, and we were awarded 75 more. So that gives us about 140 vouchers that we can use to get veterans into apartments here in town. And also talking about the ways that we bring the community together with the VA, with others, to approach that problem.
Rothschild met with the Federal Transit Administration to discuss a project the federal government has invested millions of dollars on, the streetcar. He says he talked with them about how to handle the delays in constructing the actual cars that will eventually run on the tracks between the University of Arizona and downtown Tucson.
We had conversations about the streetcar. We had frank conversations about the streetcar. And the administrator was able to offer up to the city some resources in terms of not money, but in seeing what other cities are doing, what they've done, putting us in contact with other agencies. And the administrator, of course, has a real stake in the success of Oregon Iron Works, who is manufacturing our streetcars, because after Portland and after Tucson and the second line, there's a whole number of these projects that are going on across the country. So we talked about a joint strategy for communicating with Oregon Iron Works, and the administrator was quite clear with us that Oregon Iron Works is substantial and that they will complete the work, but we want to make sure they do it as quickly as possible.
Homeland Security and the Federal Emergency Management Agency have distributed funding for an emergency communications network, and Rothschild says he's trying to make sure that money continues to help Tucson.
After 9/11, the federal government was very concerned that we create a national network where local agencies could share information with each other, and they created this network which involved a lot of cities. Tucson was one of them. And so in Tucson, we actually have a base where in a case of emergency or in a case of an alert, we can activate with all of our local agencies and some of the regional agencies to start sharing information. And so that's up and it's available, but we need to ensure that we have the money to sustain it, and that's really what we're talking about.
Funding has been funneled to the 10 largest cities in the country, Rothschild says, and he wants to ensure that network stays in place because he says it's a tool all cities can use.
Getting that message back to Washington that you want to keep these programs going in the medium-sized cities is important.
Overall, he says going to Washington to make Tucson's case on a number of issues was worth the red-eye flight and quick turnaround.
The idea is to make the relationship so that the next time I pick up the phone, there's a face with a name. Hey, how are you? Yeah, so what can I help you with today?
Southern Arizona is heavily dependent on defense spending, with 2 major bases and numerous defense contractors. What is the impact of federal budget cuts on defense spending and the economy in the region? Joining me to discuss it is Michael Proctor, Vice President of Regional Development at the University of Arizona. Michael, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.
This is a big topic that we have to discuss today, and one that's vitally important to everybody in Southern Arizona. Can you talk about how much money the military bases actually bring in to Arizona or Southern Arizona?
Well, it's huge, and I think most people really don't realize the impact more broadly across the region. You know, we're aware of Davis-Monthan and we're aware of Fort Huachuca. What people don't realize is not just how important those installations are to the economy, but how important they are to defense more broadly. If you look at Fort Huachuca, for example, there are a number of test directorates there, headquarters for communications for Western Hemisphere for the Army, essentially, a lot of military intelligence, a lot of radio testing, tremendous work there. And so they're very critical installations in terms of defense more broadly. So as a result of that, you have this constellation of civilian DoD employers, companies, contractors that sort of aggregate around these installations. The second point is that we tend to think of the two that we're most familiar with, DM and Fort Huachuca, but if you look just south of the Gila River, you also have the Air National Guard training program here near the airport, Western Air Tactical Training near Marana. You go to Yuma, you have the Yuma Proving Grounds, the Goldwater Bombing Range, the Marine Corps Air Station, and all of those have different roles, but combined, you know, you're probably about 25,000 DoD employees, both military and civilian, just south of the Gila, 32,000 across the state. And that's not including the contractors. So when you start looking at contractors and suppliers, the impact is really huge. It's an incredibly significant part of our economy.
Can you give us any ballpark figure on just how many dollars we're talking about?
Well, you know, one of the key things, if you just look at the contracts that come in to the big contractors affiliated with these agencies. So forget about the payrolls on post, forget about the payrolls of the civilian employees of DoD. If you look at what the contractors bring in and spend here, you know, the state of Arizona is, I think for 2011, about $11 billion in defense contracts. Of that 11, you know, 6.5, 7 of that is in Southern Arizona, and the rest is up in Phoenix. You have another, you know, 120 suppliers that are affiliated with all of that, the people that are making wiring harnesses and guidance systems and fine machine parts and gaskets and I mean everything that goes into this work. 120 suppliers in the state. So you're looking at about 150,000 jobs, both direct and indirect employment.
So we always tend to think of Raytheon as the big player in Southern Arizona. Are there some other names that are really substantial that we may not realize are defense contractors?
Well, you know, Lockheed Martin actually does a good bit of work here in the region. Northrop Grumman has a very strong presence down in Sierra Vista. Raytheon has a presence in Sierra Vista that is distinct from the missile group here in Tucson. So among the big players, yeah, it's a lot of the standard names. And then you go a little bit further north. Boeing is significantly involved up in Mesa. The Apache group is up there. Lockheed Martin out in Goodyear. So all the big players have a presence here in the state. Honeywell, they're all here.
Now, exactly how much of this goes to the University of Arizona, and what's their role in the whole defense industry?
So it's really interesting. The U of A plays a bunch of different roles in that industry. Everything from baccalaureate degrees for war fighters, for troops, defense employees, masters for engineers, both within the companies and also within some of the contractors. You have a whole range of that academic service that the U of A provides. Then with the affiliate companies, a whole range of entrepreneurship, small business development, all of that sort of activity. And then with the big contractors, we have the one that really attracts a lot of attention and really critical is a good $30–40 million a year in research contracts funded by predominantly the defense agencies and some of the defense industry in a whole range of disciplines.
Now, I'm sure there's going to be some impact from sequestration and some of the cuts that have already been made and that we're expecting. What kind of impact is that going to have on the university in particular, and what are you seeing for the future?
Well, it's really hard to predict with any level of specificity at this point. There are predictions around number of jobs. What we're seeing already at the university is where we've been awarded contracts, people saying, your out years may be funded lower. So we're sensing that sort of pullback. There's a certain reticence among some of our industry partners for shared investment. We had a program in Yuma that was aimed at educating engineers, and that was sequestered. So that program went off the table for 4 months, and we're going to be trying to start that up again this fall.
And when do you talked about some of it starting to happen and being down the road, so just in the few seconds we have left, when do you think we might start to feel some of this in southern Arizona, and particularly at the university?
Well, the cows are still in the pasture. They haven't come home yet. DC is a complicated place, and a lot of work has to occur before we have a lot of certainty on that. There'll be negotiations, different budget rounds, so it's going to be a long road before we know what these impacts are.
Mike, thanks so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for the chance to present.
To comment on any of today's stories or keep up with the latest news, go to our website, azpm.org. I'm Maria Parham. Thanks for watching.